Following programs will not be seen. The Texan, presented by Allstate Insurance, Father Knows Best, presented by the Scott Paper Company, and The Danny Thomas Show, presented by General Foods. They'll return next week at their regular times on most of these stations. May 2nd, 1960. From Television City in Hollywood. A special presentation on Playhouse 90. Brought to you by Camel, America's real cigarette that gives you real smoking satisfaction each and every time you light up. Have a real cigarette. Have a Camel. And by the Allstate Insurance Companies, whose policies now include protection for your home, your family, as well as your car. You're in good hands with Allstate. And by your gas company, in cooperation with gas producers, pipeline companies, and gas appliance and equipment manufacturers, who bring the modern miracles of gas service to your home. And now, to introduce Playhouse 90, the star of tonight's show.
Good evening. Right now, I'm Francho Tone, but in a moment, you'll see me as Mark Twain in The Shape of the River, a play by Horton Foote based on the last years of Mark Twain's life. Appearing with me will be Leif Erikson, Catherine Bard, Shirley Knight, Catherine Squire, James Bell, Larry Gates, Philip Coolidge, Elizabeth Patterson, with Jane MacArthur and Nancy Rennick. In 1 minute, The Shape of the River.
Now, Sam, I've had a talk with the creditors of the Webster Publishing Company. I've told them that although there's a serious panic on in America, businesses are failing everywhere, and creditors are taking the assets when there are any and letting the rest go. And that although the failure of the Webster Publishing House was in no way your fault, you as owner are not legally bound in any way. Still, you and your wife feel morally responsible to repay the creditors, and that you propose to return to the lecture platform and make a tour of the world, lecturing and writing a book until you earn every cent they have lost in the business.
I am grateful to you, Henry, for your time and the trouble you have taken to help me and my family out of our difficulties. I don't know how I can ever repay you.
I want no repayment, but Sam, when all this is over and you have money again, don't invest or sign contracts without consulting me or someone who knows something about business. I've just been studying the patents and the schemes of the business you've lost money in.
I know. And I pray now I have learned my lesson.
I'm sure you have. I know this has been a difficult time for you.
It has. I'm recovering from the first terrible shock. When I was a boy, trying to learn to be a pilot on the river, I asked Captain Bixby, my teacher, if when I had learned the shape of the river and the 500,000 different ways he was demanding and asking me to learn it, would it stay the same? Would it keep the same form and not go fooling around? Well, I soon found out it didn't. To be a pilot, you had to learn more than any man ought to know. You had to learn it all over again in a different way every 24 hours. I found that to be a practice throughout my life. Every time I get used to something, get comfortable in a way of living, and think I've learned all I need to know, I have to start in learning again, find a new way to do and get along. I tell you, Henry, all through my life, I have been the easy prey of the cheap adventurer. He came, he lied, he robbed, and went his way, and the next one arrived on the next train and scraped up what was left. Instead of sticking to what I know, I've had to try every fool's scheme that came along that gave promise of sudden riches. Now, my wife has made out a budget, very strict for us. Dear, thank you. She says, with the money from the tour and from the book I intend writing, and if we live in the summers in Europe, economizing in every way, we can pay off our debts in 4 years.
You realize, Sam, you owe over $100,000.
Well, yes, sir, but how long do you think it'll take?
You can have as many years as you want. Let's say 7 to start with.
Sir. Well, you may be right.
Will your family go with you on the world tour?
Only my wife and Clara.
Now, which is the oldest daughter?
Susie, she'll stay here on the farm, building up her strength, and then she'll go to Paris and prepare for opera.
And Jean is the youngest.
Yes, she'll stay here with her nurse and go on with school. We have never been separated before for any length of time as a family, but we know it must be done. I've told the manager of the tour all money's to be sent to you.
Thank you. I will send you and Mrs. Clemens your money each month for living expenses. I will bank the rest, and I've told the creditors they will all be paid off at the same time.
In God we trust. All others pay cash. Thank you, Henry.
And Jean, dear, run up to my bedroom, see if I left any linens there.
Yes.
And you might ask Katie if she has any last things. Oh, you all right, dear?
Yes, I'm all right.
Ask Katie if she has any last things to be packed.
All right. What are you doing, Mrs. Clemens?
Just the last rearranging, Katie.
Now, why didn't you call me?
Well, since I'm going to be in charge of packing and repacking all these trunks for the next 8 months, I think I better get used to it. Oh, I sent Jean to go look for some linens. You go see if she's found them.
All right.
And, bring anything else you see to go, Katie. And tell Mr. Clemens if he has anything to send it on.
I will. May I help you, Mama?
No, thank you, Susie, dear. Jean and Katie are helping me.
Where's Clara?
Well, she went into town to do some last shopping for herself. She should be... Should be home any minute now.
I'll be in the music room if you want me.
Fine. Youth, did Katie find you?
Yes. I have no more packing to do. Look what I found. Up in my study, going through my papers. This is the biography that Susan started about me. Susan has been given a beautiful voice, Libby.
Yes, she has, Youth.
You know, Libby, I honestly believe that Susie is more like me than any of the children.
You, Youth?
I do. Well, I don't mean I love her any more than the others, but I see myself more in her. I've always hoped that someday she'd finish this.
Well, I don't think she will now, Youth.
Well, she might, Libby.
I don't think so. 23 years old now. Well, she thinks about studying her voice, interests her in music now. And she loves music better than anything else in this world.
Well, maybe you're right. I suppose it is selfish of me to want her to go on with it. I was 50 when she started it. She was 13. That's right.
Yes.
We are a very happy family. We consist of Mama, Papa, Clara, Jean, and me. It is Papa that I am writing about. I sure have no trouble in not knowing what to say about him, as he is a very striking character. Papa uses very strong language, but I have an idea not nearly as strong as when he first married Mama. He does not like to go to church at all. Why, I never understood until just now. He told us just the other day that he could not bear to hear anyone else talk but himself, but that he could listen to himself for hours without getting tired. Of course, he said this was a joke, but I have no doubt that it was founded on truth. Those were happy times for us all, living. I wonder if we'll ever have such happy times together again.
Of course we will, Youth. Of course we will. Well, you have to forgive me while I finish my packing.
I could hear you singing, Susie. It was beautiful.
Thank you, Papa.
Guess what I found? That's the biography you began about me.
Where did you find that? I thought I'd torn it out.
I had it hidden away.
Let me see it.
No.
Papa, let me see it.
Oh, what are you going to do with it?
Never mind. I don't want anybody looking at it.
No.
Come on, let me see it.
No, I'm going to keep it. It means a great deal to me.
All right, you can have it.
You promise to take good care of yourself while we're gone, Susie.
Yes, Papa. I'm going to be so strong you won't know me when you come back.
Now, this is everything, Mrs. Clemens. Thank you, Kate. Thank you.
Hello, Clara.
Hello, Papa. Oh, Clara, dear, did you get your camera fixed?
Yes, Mama. I also got some more talcum powder.
More?
I'll pack it. The driver wants to know what time you want the carriage tonight, Papa. Take us to the
6:30.
station.
I'll go tell it.
Thank you, Jean.
Well, Clara, 12:30 tonight, you and your mama and me will be on our way around the world. I have made up my mind to one thing. When these debts are paid off, I'm going to bring us all back here and we'll never leave again. Your mama thinks it'll take about 4 years to clear us of these debts. Mr. Rogers thinks it'll be close to 7, but I'm going to work as hard as I can. And if it's humanly possible to pay them off in 3 years, I'm going to do it. Just one thing, Libby. On the lecture platform, I'm going to have to go back to my native twang, and you're just going to have to put up with it.
Papa, you never did get rid of it.
Let us say that I shall exaggerate my failure.
Well, it doesn't matter about that now, youth. We're all going to meet in England next summer. We're going to be together there for a while. These first few months will go very fast. Susie, you sing to us.
Yes.
That'll cheer us up.
No, Papa. Papa, you sing to us?
Yes.
Oh, nobody likes to hear me sing.
We love it. And sing good and loud, too.
Oh, brethren, rise, shine. Give God the glory, glory, rise, shine. Give God the glory, glory, rise, shine. Give God the glory for the year of Jubilee.
Take care of your mama. Don't let her overdo it.
Goodbye, Katie.
Goodbye,
aboard. All aboard. All right.
Miss Susie. So don't you worry now. Don't worry, Pop.
Don't cry. Please don't cry. We'll all be together again soon.
I know.
Take good care of them now.
Bye. See you in the summertime. Bye.
Few of us can stand prosperity. Another man's, I mean. Often, the surest way to convey misinformation is to tell the truth. Told I'd been expected to talk here, I inquired what sort of talk I could make. And they told me that it should be something suitable for youth, something didactic and instructive or in the nature of good advice. Very well, I have a few things in my mind which I've often longed to say for the instruction of the young, for it is in one's tender early years that such things best take root and are most enduring and most valuable. Always obey your parents when they're present. This is the best policy in the long run, because if you don't, they'll make you. Most parents believe they know better than you, so you can make more by humoring this superstition than you can by acting on your own better judgment. Always be respectful to your superiors. also to strangers and sometimes to others. If a man offends you and you're in doubt as to whether or not it was intentional, do not resort to extreme measures. Simply watch your chance and hit him with a brick. This will be sufficient. If you shall find that he intended no offense, come out frankly and confess yourself in the wrong when you struck him. Acknowledge it like a man and say you didn't mean to. Go to bed early. Get up early. This is wise. Of course, the best thing to get up with is a lark. Gives you a splendid reputation with everybody to know that you get up with a lark. And if you get the right kind of lark and you work at him right, you can easily train him to get up at 9:30 every time. It's no trick at
all. Susie, happy 24th birthday. We are in India now, played Calcutta February 12th to a packed house. And every day brings us closer to paying off these debts. And if I see anyone approaching who looks like he is even anticipating asking me to invest in a business, I run from him like he has the plague. Your mother and I are counting the days before we will all be together in England for the summer.
Never handle firearms carelessly. The sorrow and suffering that have been caused by the innocent but heedless handling of firearms by the young. Once, in the next farmhouse where I was spending the summer, there was a grandmother, old and gray, sweet, one of the loveliest spirits in the land, sitting at her work, and her young grandson crept in, got down an old, battered, rusty gun that hadn't been touched in many years and was supposed not to be loaded, and pointed it at her, laughing and threatening to shoot. In her fright, she ran screaming and pleading to the door the other side of the room. But just as she passed him, he placed that gun almost to her very breast and pulled the trigger. He had supposed it was not loaded. And he was right. It wasn't, so there wasn't any harm done. It's the only case of that kind I ever heard of. Just the same, therefore, don't you go meddling with old unloaded firearms. They are the deadliest and most unerring things ever created by man. Well, you don't have to rest. You don't have to have any sights on the gun. You don't have to take aim even. No, you just pick out a relative and bang away and you're sure to get him. Why, a youth who cannot hit a cathedral at 30 yards with a Gatling gun in 45 minutes can take up an old empty musket and bag his grandmother every time. The very thought of it makes one shudder.
Here's a cablegram from your papa and mama. They've arrived in England and they've rented a house and they're anxious to see us. Now, I think we should go into New York tonight and get a room in a hotel and get a good night's sleep before getting on that boat tomorrow.
Can we wait here tonight, Katie?
What?
I don't know. I don't feel like traveling.
What? Don't you feel good, Miss
I'm sure if I stay here and rest this evening, Katie, I'll be fine.
You got a temperature?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
I think you do have. I don't think you look good, Miss Susie. I think I'd better call the doctor.
I'll be all right, Katie.
Of course you're going to be all right, darling. But I just want you to sit here and rest while I go call that doctor.
Oh.
Miss Susie, what is it, child? What is it?
I don't know. I don't feel well. Received a very mysterious letter from Katie saying Susan's not feeling well and they won't be sailing as they'd planned. What do you make of this?
Well, I don't know, but try not to worry. Katie's very reliable. If anything was seriously wrong, she'd let us know.
Oh, I know that, but I am concerned. I think I'll cable them immediately and ask for particulars.
Oh,
and Youth, we better check on boats.
case I have to go to Susie.
All right, Libby.
Mama, a cable just arrived. It says that Susie can't leave in a week. It says that although her recovery is certain, it will be long.
Well, youth, I think Clara and I'd better go home at once.
All right, Libby. I'll go arrange for the passage. You and Clara start your packing.
Darling, you got to get back into bed now. You shouldn't be out of bed, Miss Susie. You'll get a chill. Now listen, Katie. Your mama and Miss Clara sailed yesterday. They're on their way to you.
Mama's dead.
Oh, no, Miss Susie.
Mama's dead! Mama's dead!
Darling, you mustn't say those things.
Go the trolley cars for Mark Twain's daughter. Done go the trolley cars for...
Now get into bed, Miss Susie. Katie, he'll take care of you, but you got to get into bed. What is it, darling? What is it?
I'm blind, Katie! I'm blind! I can't see! I can't see anything!
Try.
I'm forgetting it!
Try to be quiet, darling. Try to be quiet, sweetheart. Darling, now try and be quiet, Miss Susie. Try and be quiet. That's a good girl now. Now that's a good girl. Be quiet.
Mom!
Come in.
Good evening, Captain. You wanted to see me?
Yes, Miss Clemens, I'm afraid I have some very sad news for you and your mother. Right after we docked, they brought us this. I think you should be the one to tell her.
Many a time I have said the two most pathetic and moving things in the English tongue are these. First, the refrain of an old, long ago forgotten story, familiar to me in my boyhood, when we went gypsying together a long time ago. The other departed this life. Warm summer sun shine brightly here. Warm southern wind blows softly here. Green sod above, light. Good night, dear heart. Good night. Good night.
Is this the house where Mark Twain lived as a boy?
Yes, ma'am.
What time is he due here?
Paper said sometime this morning.
Yes, that's what I was told.
He's been in Europe, you know.
Is that so?
Oh, yes. Europe and India and I don't know where all. He was over there, it said in the papers, paying off a raft of debts.
I declare.
He's coming back this way to accept a degree from the University of Missouri.
Oh,
Hi, Fred.
Leonard?
are you a native of Hannibal?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Did you ever know him?
Well, no, ma'am. He was gone from here a long time before I was born.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Fred.
Yes,
Robert?
of course. You know, I rode 14 miles just to get a look at him.
Is that so?
I think what he writes is comical, don't you?
Well, yes, I do.
It's the first trip he's made back home in a long time, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Here he is.
Oh, there he comes.
Oh, Mr. Clemens.
Oh,
Welcome home, Sam.
there he comes. Isn't that him?
Yes, ma'am, I believe so.
Oh.
Hello, Sam.
Oh, he looks much older than I expected. And sadder, too. He doesn't look comical at all, does
No,
he?
ma'am, I wouldn't say so. Oh, that's our John Briggs. He lives here in Hannibal. He grew up with Mark Twain. Hi, John.
Oh, hello there. Is it like you remembered, Sam?
No. The yard is different. The trees are gone. The whole street's different. The town, too, for that matter. I don't know what I expected it to do. Stand still for me. The fence I whitewashed was over there.
Mr. Clemens, would you mind standing for a moment in the doorway of your house? I'd like to take your picture.
All right, young fellow. I hear John Robards and Ed Pierce are still living here.
Yes, they are. And Buck Brown. You remember he was a rival of yours once in a spelling contest, in which you beat him, I believe.
I could always spell, even if I couldn't do nothing else.
Say a few words to us, Sam.
Well, I will, as soon as this persistent, persevering young photographer gets through.
We're through with you now, Mr. Clemens. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. See, there are a lot of boys and girls here this morning. Well, little boys and little girls, I would like to tell you a story to illustrate the value of persevering, just sticking to your job, as it were. When I was a little boy in Hannibal, I used to play a good deal up on Holliday's Hill, which, of course, you all know. John Briggs and I played there. Well, once upon a time, they were blasting out rock on Holliday's Hill. And there was a man drilling for a blast. And he sat there and he drilled and he drilled and he drilled perseveringly until he got the hole deep enough for the blast. And then he put in the powder and then he tamped and tamped and tamped it down. But he must have tamped too hard because the blast went off. He went up in the air. John Briggs and I watched him. He went higher, higher, and he got smaller and smaller. First, he was the size of a child, then he was the size of a dog, then he was the size of a kitten, then he was the size of a bird. Finally, he went out of sight. John Briggs and I watched the place where he'd gone out of sight. By and by, he started coming back down again. First as big as a bird, then as big as a kitten, then as big as a dog, then as big as a child, and then he was a man again. He landed right in his seat and started drilling. Just persevering. Little boys and little girls, that is the secret of success. Just like that poor but honest workman up on Holliday's Hill. Of course, you may not always be appreciated. He wasn't. His employer was a hard man. And on Saturday night, when he paid him off, he docked him 15 minutes for the time. Never mind. He had his reward.
Glad you were able to stop by Hannibal on your way to the university, Sam.
I wouldn't have missed coming for anything in the world.
Are you happy to be living in America again?
Yes, I am. It took me 3 years to pay off those debts, but that's all done behind me.
You went all over the world, didn't you?
Yeah, all over. There was a letter addressed to me once, Mark Twain, God knows where, and it reached me too.
Sam, do either of your daughters share your talent for writing?
No, my daughter Clara, like her sister, is interested in music. And my younger daughter, Jean, is learning to typewrite. She helps me with my manuscripts.
Oh, that's fine. Sorry to hear Mrs. Clements isn't well, Sam.
Well, she was never strong, John. As a girl of 16, she suffered an accident from which she's never fully recovered. And lately, she has been tiring herself a good deal. You see, my wife has the spirit of a steam engine and a frame of flesh, and she's continually wrecking that frame with a tireless energy. Anyway, 3 weeks ago, I was awakened one morning by a cry. I saw my wife on the other side of the room, leaning against the wall and panting. She said to me, "I'm dying." I thought she was. I got her back to bed. I sent for our doctor. He says it's a nervous breakdown, but nothing but complete rest, seclusion, and careful nursing can help her. Our daughter Clara is with her constantly. Jean and I are not permitted to enter the room. I suppose that's just as well. I don't think I should go in, even if the doctor permitted it. For I would certainly come out with some startling yarn that would make the hair of a wolf stand on end. I don't know if you knew it, but our daughter Jean has had epilepsy ever since Susie's death. I know that worries her mother constantly. It all seems so small. Boys' home is a big place. I suppose if I came back here in 10 years, it'd be the size of a birdhouse. This was my bedroom. It's almost 60 years since I climbed down that rain pipe. Almost 60 years.
Oh, good. Have him come up. And Katie, you better tell Father.
I will.
There. That's done. You know, Father's Christmas story for Harper's is almost an exact account of our life here last month when you had pneumonia and we wanted to keep it from Mama.
That's right. And I thank you for taking such good care of us, Clara.
Oh, nonsense.
I do. I don't know what any of us would have done without you.
You'd manage.
I'm sorry you've had to give up going to New York for your vocal lessons this winter.
I'll start again soon.
Must be wonderful to have a talent like you have and Susie had.
Well, maybe you have a talent, too. And you'll discover it someday.
No, I have no talent. That's why I'm happy to be learning practical things like typing and secretarial work.
Oh, Mr. Howells.
Hello, young ladies. How well you're looking, Jean. I expected to find an invalid.
Well, I'm feeling fine now.
But she was very ill, Mr. Howells, and we were concerned about her.
You know, I think Clara is going to be a great actress someday, Mr. Howells. She had to pretend to Mama I was well and happy the whole time I was sick. And invent things for me to be doing every minute of my illness so that Mama'd think I was having a busy, happy, useful life.
And she was never suspicious?
Not once, was she, Clara?
No. But I'm glad it's behind me. Father is waiting outside Mother's room, hoping to see her for a few minutes this morning. Katie's gone to tell him you're here. I'll go and see about our lunch.
Thank you.
Father said that you could read this if you wanted to.
Oh, I'd like to. Thank you.
Will you just make yourself comfortable? He'll be along shortly.
It's a great comfort for me having the river to watch. When is Mr. Clemens coming to see me today?
After the doctor's visit.
Mr. Howells is coming to visit Youth today. I'm so glad he's to have some company.
Isn't Mr. Howells a writer, too?
Oh, yes. He's a very distinguished one. He's one of Mr. Clemens' oldest friends.
Come in, Doctor.
Good morning, nurse.
Hello, Doctor.
Good morning, Mrs. Clemens. And how do you feel this morning?
Much better, thanks.
Now, fine. Now, let's let me check, huh? Excuse me a minute.
The doctor asked me to tell you that he thinks it best if you don't see Mrs. Clemens for the next 3 days.
Oh, is she worse?
Oh, no, I don't think so. It's just that I think he wants her to have absolute quiet.
Well, don't you think my not coming will concern her, make her think she is getting worse?
Oh, perhaps at first, but I'm sure finally she'll understand that it's only for her own good.
I wrote this note for her to have in case I couldn't see her. And don't you think you ought to read it? Just make sure it's all right for her to see. It's just something I wrote to amuse her.
I think it's all right for her to see.
Thank you.
Sam!
Welcome to Riverdale. It was nice of you to come to me all this way. While there's a chance of seeing Livy, I don't like to leave here.
How is Livy this morning?
Yesterday when I saw her, she seemed so well. Today, they won't even let me visit her. When I was lecturing in India, I heard a legend of one of their emperors whom they revered. When his son took ill with a fever, he walked around the boy's bed 3 times saying, "I have borne it away." And he did bear it away. The fever left his son, came to him, and he died. I have walked around Livy's bed every time saying, "I have borne it away," but she lies there suffering. Here I am. Well, you're not reading that.
Yes, Jean told me that I might. Sam, I'm glad you're able to write again.
I'm not writing. I'm working. I work 8, 9, 10 hours a day.
Jean tells me you've written a great deal.
I've started a great deal. In the last 16 weeks, I've started 16 things. Wrong. 3 books, 13 magazine articles. I could only make 2 small things. 1,500 words come out right. I'll tell you something else. I haven't done much better in the months and years since Susie's death. Oh, lots of things I never intended to finish. But many of them I wanted desperately to complete. And I don't know how. I always fail.
Sam, you're distressed and worried and overwrought. But Sam, you must be patient with yourself. I am your old friend. I know your nature. I know your moods. I've seen you this way before, Sam. There's hardly been a time in the last 30 years when you haven't had 2 or more unfinished manuscripts lying around. And I heard you say that you stopped in the middle of Tom Sawyer. You let it alone for 2 years. One day you took it out, you read the last chapter you'd written and went on. And you wrote to me in the middle of Huck Finn you couldn't go on. You might even burn it. I've heard you say many times when the tank runs dry, you've only to leave it alone and it will fill up again while you're asleep. Now, wasn't there a 2-year lapse before The Prince and the Pauper was finished?
Yeah.
And A Connecticut Yankee?
Yes, but with this difference. Then I wanted to write well. Now I write because it's the only work I know. I don't care about it. I want to see my wife get well. I want to find a way to heal her broken heart.
I know that, Sam, I know, but you put
listen to me.
Sam, I will not have you go on this way punishing
now,
yourself.
you listen to me. I have to tell you. Sometimes I feel I've done something to bring all this about. I feel I'm being punished.
Sam, stop that.
Now, you listen to me, please. First, I have to lose all our money. Foolish, willful speculations. Then I have to tear my family apart. Go on a lecture tour to pay off my debts. When that's done, Susie is dead. Jean has her illness, which she'll have till the end of her life. And now, Livy is stricken. Oh, my God! Oh, my God! Those so afflicted, those I love. Livy feels that when she's stronger, we should go back to Italy to live. We were happy living there. She loved Italy and the people and the climate. So did the girls. Maybe if we get back there, everything will be better for us.
Miss Clara asked me to tell you lunch is ready.
You go along. I'll join you. I'm going to write Livy another little note we're going to have this afternoon, so she has to occupy her.
All right, Sam.
Another note, my dear. I have just looked outside. The naked tree branches are tear-beaded, and nature has the look of trying not to break down and sob. Poor old thing. Howes is here. Just seeing it cheers me considerably. I feel so full of hope for us. Come in.
Mr. Clemens, Mrs. Clemens keeps asking me about moving to Italy. Now, I think it might eventually do her a great deal of good.
Well, when you're sure we can leave, I'll make the arrangements.
Very good.
Oh, Doctor.
Yes?
Is my wife going to get well?
Mr. Clemens, I have every hope, and so must you.
Hello, Katie. Did you have a nice day?
Yes, ma'am. But a tired one. I've walked all over the city of Florence.
Have you, Katie? Well, I'm glad. I think this is the first day you've had to yourself in the year we've been here.
You've never seen anything like the sights I've seen. There were great goings-on to church, so I went over to it. It's what they call 40 hours adoration. It's a grand procession with the boys carrying lighted candles and the priests marching around to different churches and then going back to their own. I went with that procession all the way to all the different churches. I've walked miles
Katie.
today.
I'll bet you're tired.
How are you?
I feel better.
Time for Mr. Clemens' visit. Shall I call him?
Yes, you will, please.
Lift you up. There.
Well, Katie, Florence is resting me. It's wearing you out.
'Tis doing you good, isn't it?
I think so. I think so. Well, in Riverdale, we had the Hudson, snow and ice. Here, Katie, we have warm nights and the smell of roses, scented laurel and orange blossoms. And way in the night, when I awake and I see you over there sleeping, I can sometimes hear a nightingale singing. A nightingale. Sweetly. So sweetly. And then once I heard an owl. That frightened me because when I was a little girl, I heard somewhere, I don't know, that owls were an omen of death.
Oh.
But then I spoke to Mr. Clements about it, and he told me not to worry about it because he said the priest next door told him they come back here every year to this garden.
Sure.
They have a nest here, And they visited.
Here's Mr. Clemens.
Hello, youth.
Hello, Livy.
I'm going to rest, Katie. I'll leave her in your care.
Katie, you leave us alone for a little. Youth, come over to my bed.
I don't think I should, Libby. The doctor and the nurse have both cautioned me that only a word and a kiss are still permitted.
No, it'll do me no harm tonight. I feel so much stronger. Yes, come.
You do look stronger. I'm so glad we brought you here.
Youth, I wish I could lie down flat. It's been 7 months since I've been flat. You open the window, youth. Smell the roses. The garden's beautiful.
Yes, they are. Before we left America, I was going through some papers. I found a letter I'd written you before we were married. And you must have saved it. I thought you might like to look at it.
Thank you, youth.
I'm going now. I don't want to tire you.
Think that all this exquisite loveliness should be joined, such rare and beautiful qualities of mind and heart, is a thing that is utterly incomprehensible. Livy, you are as kind and good and sweet and unselfish and just and truthful and sensible and intellectual as the homeliest woman I ever saw. For you know that these qualities belong peculiarly to homely women. I have so longed for these qualities in my wife, and have so grieved because she would have to be necessarily a marvel of ugliness. I who do so worship beauty, with a good fortune which is a very miracle. I have secured all these things in my little wife to be, and beauty beyond any beauty that I ever saw in a face before. I
just remembered about the windows. Who opened them?
Mr. Clements.
Do you want to sleep?
I'll rest now, Katie. Stay with me, Katie. Stay with me for a while.
Steam away, steam.
He's singing the old songs, Katie. It's the first time he sang them in so long. It's the first time I've heard them
Since Susie died. Mrs. Clemens, dear. Nurse, get the oxygen. Mrs. Clemens, dear. Katie. Nurse, hurry! Help me, Katie. Mr. Clemens! Miss Clara! Help me, Katie. Miss Jean, hurry!
Libby. Libby. How beautiful she is. How young and sweet. Look. She's smiling.
How do you feel, Mr. Clemens?
Oh, pretty well, Katie. How are the girls?
They're in their cabin, resting.
You know, Katie, it's 31 years since Livy and I made our first voyage together. Susie was a year old then. In my life, Katie, there have been 68 Junes. How full of color, 67 of them, contrasted to this dark blackness. Do you know something? I cannot reproduce Livy's face in my mind's eye. Never in my life have I been able to reproduce a face. That's a curious infirmity. And now, at last, I realize it's a calamity.
Where will the funeral be, Mr. Clemens?
In Elmira. She'll be buried beside Susie and our son. Well, you didn't know. We had a boy.
I remember Mrs. Clemens telling me.
He died when he was a baby. Throughout our marriage, Livy and I made many voyages together. Now we're making our last. She down below and lonely. I above and lonely. Is Howells here?
Yes, he's waiting in the lobby.
I know it's going to be a lovely evening, Mr. Clemens. I only wish I could be there to look in at you all.
Good night, Katie. We've got to hurry him along.
Jane, Miss Clara.
Hurry, Papa.
Have a grand time now.
Well, come along.
Oh.
Isn't that Mark Twain?
Yes. Colonel George Harvey's given a dinner at Delmonico's restaurant to celebrate his 70th birthday.
Are those his daughters with him?
Yes.
I read in the papers that one of the girls has nervous trouble. Which is the one?
Miss Jean, the youngest.
And Clara's the one that's getting married.
Yes.
To a foreigner, isn't it?
Mr. Gabrilovich. He's a very famous pianist, you know.
Do they live here in the hotel?
No, they live in the country. Miss Clara, what's the trouble?
Father forgot his notes for his speech.
Well, can I help you?
No, Katie, I've got them. Good
Well,
night.
hurry up now. You're going to be late.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, and Colonel Harvey, I will try to be greedy on your behalf in wishing the health of our honored and, in view of his great age, our revered guest. I will not say, O King, live forever, but, O King, live as long as you like.
Thank you, Mr. Howells. The 70th birthday, it's a time of life when one arrives at a new and awful dignity, you can tell the world how you got there. We will explain the process and dwell on the particulars with senile rapture. I have achieved my 70 years in the usual way by sticking strictly to a scheme of life which would kill anybody else. I shall now teach. Since 40, I have been regular about going to bed and getting up, and that's one of the main things. I have made it a rule to go to bed when there wasn't anybody left to sit up with. I have made it a rule to get up when I had to. It has saved me sound, but it would injure another person. I have made it a rule never to smoke more than one cigar at a time. I have no other restrictions as regards smoking. I always follow the rule never to smoke when asleep and never to refrain when awake. It's a good rule. I mean, for me. But some of us know quite well it would not answer for everybody that's trying to get to be 70. I have never taken any exercise except sleeping and resting. I never intend to. Exercise is loathsome, can be of no benefit when you're tired, and I was always tired. Let another person try my way and see whence he will come out.
Here's the mail, Papa. There's a letter from Clara. There's nothing else you have to read. I can take care of the rest for you.
Clara seems very happy in Switzerland.
Yes, she does.
I don't think she misses us at all.
Papa, a reporter called this morning, and he said that his paper is carrying a story that your health is failing and that you've been in critical condition ever since Clara's wedding. I think you should send in a denial.
Now, what difference does it make?
The Associated Press is carrying the story. It'll be sent to Switzerland. Clara will read it and be very worried. You have to deny it for her sake.
All right. To the manager of the Associated Press, New York, I hear the newspapers are saying that I'm dying. The charge is not true. I would not do such a thing at my time of life. I'm behaving as good as I can. Merry Christmas to everybody. Mark Twain. Were you up early this morning?
6.
Did you have your cold bath?
Yes, haven't missed one all winter.
Katie thinks they're too strenuous for you, Jean.
Father, I get in and then I get right out. I've never felt better in my life.
Well, you never look better, to tell you the truth. I just don't want you doing too much, that's all. Payne is here now. He asked the other night if he couldn't take over some of your duties.
No, I don't need any help. Here's a letter from a woman who says that she heard that your health is failing and she sends you an infallible remedy. Should I write her and thank her?
Yes, ma'am. You may say, "Dear Madam, I try every remedy that comes my way. I am now on 67. Yours is number 2,583. I am looking forward to its beneficial results."
Now, here's a letter from a man who wants to know if you've written anything after Captain Stormfield's visit to heaven.
Well, you may write and say that I have written a great deal. I have finished nothing. That nothing pleases me.
He asked specifically what you're at work on now.
Say I'm at present working with Mr. Albert Bigelow Payne on the biography that he's writing. But that I'm also working on my own autobiography in my own time, in my own way. Now, you don't need to write this down, Jean. I just want you to listen to it. In this autobiography, I shall keep in mind that I'm speaking from the grave. I speak from the grave rather than with my living tongue. For a good reason, I can speak thence freely. Now, I want to be minded in this, Jean. I do not want any of my autobiography to be published until after I'm dead. I've so instructed Payne, I want you and Clara to uphold him in it.
All right. But what terrible things are to be in that book?
Oh, nothing so terrible.
But you sound so serious and solemn. I've never known you to sound so serious before.
Do I? Well, that's good. I'm not permitted to be serious very often, I can tell you.
Pop, I take you very seriously.
I know you do, Jean, and I thank you for it. I hope it's not too lonely for you here in the country.
No, I love it here.
You finished your Christmas shopping?
Mm-hmm. And I've wrapped all my packages, and Katie and I'll decorate the tree tonight. And I'll label all my packages.
You're not doing too much, are you?
No. Now, don't worry about me. You mustn't worry about me.
Well, you're all I've got to worry about with Clara married, gone so far away.
You realize I haven't had a seizure in 6 months?
I know. You've never been better in your life. I just don't want you to do too much, that's all. You've got to promise me that.
I promise.
Come in.
Good afternoon, Mr. Clemens. Jean.
Is your room comfortable, Mr. Payne?
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
That's good. What time will you and your family be joining us on Christmas Day?
Oh, around 9.
All right. I'll phone this message to the papers, Father.
I've written some more pages for you. I skipped around. Started with my boyhood in Hannibal.
Ah, good. Now, just exactly what was it that your brother said to you when you were working in his newspaper office?
He said that my literature had attracted the tower's attention, but not its admiration. It's all included in here.
Now, I must tell you, Mr. Clemens, that I am having a little difficulty reconciling some of your dates and events. Now, I was quite sure that, well, you told me that this happened before you were 12. And then over here you say you were 14. And then here's the name of a man that's different when you mention it over here, and, well, it didn't happen just this way.
Didn't it?
No.
Well, I'll tell you. When I was younger, I could remember anything, whether it happened or not. But now I'm getting along in years, and pretty soon I shall remember only the things that never happened at all. So you just go on writing. Don't worry about dates and what I've told you.
Yes, sir.
Some more presents have come.
Oh, thank you, Katie. Just put them down there anywhere.
Your father asked me yesterday how many presents you were sending out. And I told him I thought around 50, but I didn't know exactly.
55.
Oh, what did you get for your father?
Something he's always wanted, an enormous globe of the world.
Lovely. Now, let me help you here.
All right, Katie, you take that side of the tree. That's Father playing the orchestra. He's restless tonight. He wanted me to play billiards with him after supper, but I was too tired.
Well, can I help?
Oh, Mr. Payne. No, thanks. Katie and I can do it all. We're not going to work much more tonight.
Gina, I do wish you'd let me take over some of your duties while I'm here.
No, Mr. Payne. Father spoke to me about it this morning, and it really isn't necessary. I'm not working too hard. Oh, thank you. And besides, I promised Father that I'd take some time off in March, and Katie and I'd go with him to Bermuda. I'm going to write on Monday reserving a house.
Oh, nice.
Oh, there you are, Mr. Payne. I just stopped by your room to see if I could interest you in a little billiards.
Well, you certainly could.
Just a minute. Come on, Katie. Massage my head. Nobody does it like you.
All right.
This afternoon, I met a man up in the village. Sit down. He said to me, you would look so young if you had a bald head. How do you preserve that mop? How do you keep it from falling out? Well, I said, as I always do, I think it remains with me because I keep it clean by thoroughly scouring it every morning with soap and water. Well, now we arrive at a curious thing. The answer to my explanation always brings about the same remark that this gentleman gave forth, that water ruins the hair because it rots the roots of it. But when I ask, how do you know this, they do not quite know how to answer. And so I ask if he has any personal knowledge of cases where the roots have been rotted by wetting it. Turns out he hasn't a single case of this kind to offer. And if I ask him, has he ruined his own hair by wetting it? Turns out he doesn't wet it often lest he rot the roots of it. And thank you, Katie. When I hunt him remorselessly home, he has to confess at last that everybody says that water rots the roots of the hair. Well, good night, Jean.
You kiss me on my cheek. I have a slight cold.
You be sure she gets to bed early, Katie.
I will.
Billiards.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Miss Payne. Katie, I want to take my packages to the station early, so could I have my breakfast very early? I'd like to have my cold bath ready by 7.
All right, I'll ask Jenny to wake you and draw your bath, but I'll get your breakfast.
Thank you.
Miss Jean. Miss Jean, it's 7. Your bath is ready.
Thank you, Jenny. Is it a nice morning?
It's a lovely morning.
Thank you.
Katie, you'd better come. Miss Jean has been in her bath half an hour, and she usually just stays in for a minute. I'll go right away.
Miss Jean! Miss Jean! Mr. Jenny! Jenny, come help me! Come help me! Miss Jean! Mr. Clemens! Mr. Clemens, come quick, come quick! Oh, come quick, Mr. Clemens, come quick! Miss Jean is dead! Her heart must suddenly have gave way. I was in the kitchen when Jenny came for me.
She's happy now. She's with her mother, her sister. And if I thought one single word would bring her back, I wouldn't say it.
You've been up all night. You've got to get some rest.
I'm setting it all down. Everything. It's a relief to me to write. It gives me an excuse for not thinking. I lost Susie 13 years ago. I lost her mother. Jean lies yonder. I sit here. We are strangers under our own roof. Oh, the snow's even heavier. It's a pity Jean cannot see the snow. She so loved the snow. I can't think. I can't remember. What was her favorite music?
Well, I think she always liked Schubert's Impromptu.
Well, when you play it on the orchestrelle when they're getting ready to start with her, and add the intermezzo for Mrs. Clemens and the largo for Susie. When I hear the music, I shall know they're starting. Have them put some lanterns by the door so I can look down, see them leave.
I will.
We'll be leaving for Elmira soon, Mr. Clemens. Are you sure you won't change your mind?
No. Katie, I can never see another person belonging to me laid into the grave. You'd better go. I think they're leaving, Katie.
I just thought I'd look in and see if I could get anything for you.
No. It's about Jean's death. It can end my autobiography. It is the final chapter.
Oh, you'll write again.
No, done with it. I came in with Halley's Comet in 1835. It's coming again this year. I expect to go out with it.
Why do you...
No, it will be the greatest disappointment of my life if I don't go out with Halley's Comet. The Almighty has said, no doubt, now here are these unaccountable freaks. They came in together. They must go out together. Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Are you going to live on here?
Yes, I intend to stay. The spirits of the dead hallow a house for me. Wasn't that so with other members of my family? They could not bear it. Susie died in that house in Hartford. Mrs. Clemens could never enter it again. I have entered it once since, when it was tenantless and silent and forlorn. But to me it was a holy place, beautiful. It seemed to me the spirits of the dead were all around me and would speak to me if they could and welcome me. And I intend to stay here. This house is dearer to me tonight than ever it was before. It started snowing. I would like it if you and your wife, children, would come here and live with me while we're working together.
I know they'd be happy to.
Well, it would be company for me.
Well, I'll look in on you later.
No! No, right now. You can talk to me a while.
Of all your books, which is your favorite?
Well, I don't know. Livy liked Joan of Arc best, and then Prince and the Pauper. Which do you like best?
Oh, Huckleberry Finn. You weren't Huck, were you?
No, I was Tom. I knew a Huck, though. I knew a Huck and an Injun Joe and a Muff Potter. But I was always Tom. My mother was Aunt Polly. Well, you can go now.
You'll be all right.
Yes, quite all right.
Well, I'll look in on you later.
Thank you. I was born the 30th of November, 1835, in the almost invisible village of Florida, Monroe County, Missouri. The village contained 100 people, and I increased the population by 1%. It is more than many of the best men in history could have done for a town. It may not be modest in me to refer to this, but it is true. There is no record of a person doing as much, not even Shakespeare. But I did it for Florida, and it shows that I could have done it for any place. Even London, I suppose. Tom. Tom? What's wrong with that boy, I wonder? You, Tom!
Allstate, the company that cuts the red tape and high cost out of insurance, presents Ed Reimers.
If you've ever stayed awake nights worrying about what might happen if you or a member of the family were laid up with a serious illness, then you should know about this. Allstate's new sickness, accident, and hospital policy. And here's the man who can tell you about it. Your Allstate agent. He'll show you how this new plan can be a mighty low-cost way of bringing your health insurance plan up to date. How it can help pay the big expenses of a serious accident or a long, drawn-out illness. It can even provide you with a regular income if you become disabled and can't work. You can use it either as a basic health program or to strengthen the plan you already have. So see your Allstate agent. He'll show you how you can get the health insurance you need at a cost you can afford. And he'll show you how with sickness, accident, and hospital insurance, too. You're in good hands with Allstate.
On May 18th, Playhouse 90 will present Rod Serling's In the Presence of Mine Enemies, starring Charles Lawton, Arthur Kennedy, Susan Kohner, Oscar Homolka, George McCready, Sam Jaffe, and introducing Robert Redford. Shirley Knight appears through the courtesy of Warner Brothers, producers of Edna Ferber's Ice Palace, soon to be released. Playhouse 90. Brought to you by Camel, America's real cigarette that gives you real smoking satisfaction each and every time you light up. Have a real cigarette. Have a Camel. And by the Allstate Insurance Companies, whose policies now include protection for your home, your family, as well as your car. You're in good hands with Allstate. And by your gas company, in cooperation with gas producers, pipeline companies, and gas appliance and equipment manufacturers, who bring the modern miracles of gas service to your home. Dick Joy speaking. This program was pre-recorded. Playhouse 90 is a CBS television network production. Because of this special broadcast, the following programs were not seen tonight.